One rainy night, a woman put a baby, a beautiful key, and a piece of photograph in a basket. And then she knocked on the door of an orphanage and left the basket on the porch.
I'm sorry, baby, but it will be better this way. Be happy.
That baby was me. Hi, I'm Miranda. I'm 15 now. Please subscribe and like this video, and I will tell you about my dizzying adventures. I didn't know anything about my parents. I was sure that they had died a long time ago. All I had left of my mom was the strange key that I wore on a cord around my neck and the piece of a photograph. My mom was beautiful. I grew up in an orphanage, but that never bothered me. It was my home. I had cool friends, a guy I liked, and even good teachers there. They were real mentors. I was happy. But one morning, some unexpected news changed everything. A woman came to the orphanage and with tears of joy in her eyes, declared that she was my Aunt Lucy.
Miranda, I've been looking for you for so long, my dear niece.
Unfortunately, she had long lost contact with her sister, my mother, and had no idea what had happened to her. But I was still over the moon. Wow! It wasn't every day you found out you had living relatives. But my joy didn't last long. My aunt told me that she was going to adopt me.
A child should grow up in a loving family. I'm taking you away from this terrible place.
I got mad and told her that was my home she was talking about. But my aunt didn't change her mind. She quickly signed all the documents and I soon moved in with her.
It's all yours now, sweetie.
Oh my! I never had my own room or such a huge wardrobe before. And my aunt took good care of me. But there was a downside to my new posh life. I missed my friends from the orphanage. After all, we were a real family.
Do you want hot cocoa with cookies? By the way, I like your key. Do you know when it opens?
Nope, it was in the basket with me when I was found on the porch. This key and a photo. Mom left me some sort of a riddle.
I'm sure you will solve it.
My aunt gave me gifts and almost never left my side. She also kept asking me if I knew any of my mom's secrets. What did she mean? Soon, I got bored in that golden cage. It felt like my aunt was treating me like a doll and started to get annoyed. I even asked her if I could ask the other kids from the orphanage over sometimes, but my aunt told me no.
You can spend that time doing something more useful. Let's go shopping. Or you could study some more.
Something more useful? Ugh, she thought that my old friends weren't good enough for her fancy house. Well, that just meant I wasn't good enough either. It was time to show Aunt Lucy I wasn't a pushover. I was sure she would send me back to the orphanage if she saw what I was really like. I didn't do anything too dramatic at first. I skipped some classes and stopped doing my chores. Then, I started snapping at her and destroying stuff. But my kind aunt forgave me for everything. She turned out to be a tough nut to crack. But I had a couple more tricks up my sleeve. So, I broke a window in my room. Oops! Then, I spilled my aunt's expensive perfume. Oopsie! Finally, I scratched a heart on her car. Isn't it pretty? At first, my aunt grabbed her head in horror. But then, she smiled and called it a childish prank. Ugh, I had to think of something else. I hid in a mall and decided to spend the night there and eat some Baskin-Robbins. My favorite flavor is pistachio almond. What about you? But the security guards caught me even before the store closed. The police brought me home. My aunt finally lost her temper.
It's like you're trying to drive me crazy, Miranda. I'm sorry, but I'm going to send you to a special place.
I was stoked because I thought she meant the orphanage. However, Aunt Lucy was actually talking about a boarding school for troubled girls. What the heck? They will guide you on the right path, and then I'll let you come back home. Damn it, I messed up. Soon, I packed my things again and arrived at the boarding school for girls. Ugh, it was a very gloomy and suspiciously familiar-looking building. There were creepy paintings and old-fashioned mirrors hanging on the walls inside. Mrs. Hill was watching over the students. Just looking at her made my blood run cold.
Straighten your back. Shoulders back.
Yeah, I knew better than to mess with her. That witch could probably turn me into a toad. Nope, thanks. I was put into a room with a nasty little booger called Wendy. She looked like she crawled out of a crypt. And she also always carried a book about black magic with her. Besides, cockroaches lived in her terrarium. Still, I could have put up with all that. But I wasn't going to tolerate her nasty behavior. Hey, new girl, I have a name. You'll just be the new girl until you pass the rite of initiation. Such are the rules of this boarding school. I don't give a crap about your rules. That's a shame. The first stage of the initiation has already begun. What? Wendy smiled slyly and told me to look in the mirror. Okay? I looked at my reflection and screamed like crazy. Cockroaches were running around my head! Ew, get them off me! Then, that psycho divided our room with paint and told me to stay on my side. But the door is on your side. How am I supposed to leave the room? Learn how to walk through walls. It's not my problem. Yeah, right. She didn't know who she was messing with yet. I smeared the paint and went out into the hallway. While I was looking around, I ran into the only guy at school. I thought this place was just for girls. It is. I'm not a student here. My dad is the gardener. Sometimes I help him out. My name is Louis. I'm Miranda. Louis turned out to be the only normal person in that weird place. We hit it off and hung out a lot. Rumor has it there are a lot of dark secrets in this school. Some even believe there are ghosts here. Only children believe such stories. Wendy kept ruining my life. One day, I saw her draw strange signs on the floor, light up some candles, and mumble spells.
What are you doing?
I'm asking the ancestral spirits to tell me about the weather tomorrow. Ever heard of Google? Wendy was always trying to mess with me. She spilled paint over my homework, turned on loud music in the middle of the night, and was always terribly rude. I didn't want to complain to Mrs. Meanhill, so I decided to pay her back in her own coin. Two could play that game. I painted Wendy's nails pink while she was sleeping. Then I put heart stickers on her gloomy books and washed all her black dresses with bleach. Revenge was sweet. Ugh, you're going to regret this, new girl. There are ghosts in this school, and they come for those who do not honor its traditions. I was sick of the boarding school. Boring rules, evil teachers, and nasty classmates. Ugh, I had it with them. Maybe living with my aunt wasn't that bad after all. I really wanted to go back. I even felt ashamed of myself for how I acted. She'd been kind to me, and all I did was cause trouble. I texted her an apology and went to bed. I woke up in the middle of the night when I heard a strange creaking noise. I opened my eyes and saw… Ah! There was a ghost above me! It was reaching out its pale hands toward me and laughing angrily! Holy crap! Had Wendy told me the truth? It was so creepy. I screamed and ran out of the room. I ran down the corridor while the ghost chased me. It was a nightmare. I couldn't see anything around me because it was so dark, and I was terrified. I crashed into a large mirror. It fell and shattered into hundreds of pieces with a shockingly loud sound. Damn it, that was the last thing I needed. And then I heard Wendy's voice behind me. Damn it, Mrs. Hill will go ballistic when she sees this. I turned around and saw my roommate take off a sheet. Whoa, she was the angry ghost! What a jerk! She wouldn't get away with it. I glared at Wendy, but before I could say anything, the lights came on in the hallway, and we saw a furious Mrs. Hill. Wendy had run away, so I bore the brunt of our teacher's anger. Miranda! What have you done? While she was growling like a watchdog, I was quietly humming BTS songs. Oh, why was I so unlucky? You will clean up everything in the morning. Go to bed. I went back to my room, still pissed off. Wendy pretended to be fast asleep. I wanted to take revenge on her, but decided to be above it. You act like you're afraid of nothing, but when it's time to face the music, you turn into a cowardly chicken. It's pathetic. I knew she heard me. I wanted her to feel ashamed. After that, I slept like a baby. When everyone left for classes in the morning, I went to clean up the mirror fragments. Mrs. Hill sent Louis to help me. We quickly did it, but then I saw a strange crack in the wall where the mirror used to hang. That was weird. Look, what's this? It looks like some sort of door. Do you have something we could use to open it? He was right. We took a closer look and saw a keyhole. It reminded me of my key, and I tried to use it. Wow! Imagine my surprise when it worked! I turned it several times, and the door opened! Wow! Louis and I looked at each other, dumbfounded, and walked into a dark, dusty room. We used our phone flashlights and saw a bunch of different paintings in elegant gold frames. Can you imagine? Wow! They probably cost a fortune! Why did you have the key to the door? I wished I knew that myself. We wandered around a bit more and went back into the hallway. We agreed to keep everything a secret for now. Then, we hung a new mirror on the door and left. After classes, my aunt called me. I got your message. I'm glad you apologized. How are you doing? I wanted to be honest with her, so I told her about everything that had happened in the last few days. Of course, I also mentioned the paintings in the room that my mother's key had opened. It's unbelievable! I'll be there as soon as I can. We'll figure it all out. But then, something unexpected happened. Before going to bed, I went to the shower, and when I came back, I realized that my key was missing. What the heck? I left it on the shelf. Someone had stolen it. I immediately thought of Wendy. That witch will never confess. I I decided to ask Louis for help and suddenly saw two ghosts in the hallway. Now I knew it was just people in sheets. I was sure that it was Wendy and her friends trying to scare me again. But then I saw them open the door behind the mirror with my key and carry out the paintings. How dare they? A sleepy Wendy came up to me and asked what was going on. Wait, if she was next to me, then who was hiding under the sheets? It was time to find out. I asked my roommate for help. When those freaking ghosts came into the room again, we closed the door and locked them inside. Luckily for us, they left the key in the lock. Mrs. Hill came running to the noise. Wendy and I told her everything. Our teacher's eyes bulged out, and she called the police. "Guard the door, girls." While she was gone, Wendy and I got to talking. She apologized for the way she acted. "I've always been different from everyone else. Popular girls always bullied me, and I took out my anger on you. But you know, you're cool, Miranda." "Whatever, it's in the past now." We heard the click of someone's heels. My worried aunt ran in. She hugged me and started to pat my cheeks.
Sweetie, are you all right? What's going on here?
At that moment, Mrs. Hill and the police arrived. While the cops were opening the secret door, our teacher stared at Aunt Lucy suspiciously. "Excuse me, have we met before? Your face looks familiar."
No! You must have mistaken me for somebody."
Mrs. Hill was about to say something else, but then the police let the intruders out of the room. I was shocked. It was the gardener and his son. Louis had told his father about the paintings. They'd stolen the key and decided to take the paintings. They'd also dressed up as ghosts in case someone saw them. After all, the students believed there were ghosts in that school. What a plan! How could you do that? I thought you were my friend. They were handcuffed and taken away to a police station. One of the officers examined the paintings and took the witnesses' statements. It turned out those paintings had been stolen from the city museum 15 years ago. One of the criminals had turned herself in, but she never confessed where they'd hidden the loot. Now, all of this will be returned to the museum. Good job, girls. Wow, I helped solve a crime that happened 15 years ago. However, I still had a lot of questions. Why did I have the key in the first place? But I was too tired to think about it. The cops left. Wendy and I decided to go back to our room, but my aunt suddenly said that she was taking me home at once.
"It's not safe here. Pack your things, Miranda."
She was acting suspicious. I didn't argue and said goodbye to Wendy. Mrs. Hill looked at my aunt suspiciously one more time, and we went home. In the morning, my aunt looked angry and nervous. She started to grumble that I was costing her too much and that my time at boarding school had cost her a lot of money as well. I wondered why her attitude had suddenly changed so dramatically and decided to fix everything I had done before I left to cheer her up. I decided to start with cleaning up. While my aunt was in the kitchen, I went into her bedroom and started to dust. I climbed on a chair to get to the top shelf and saw something weird. A piece of a photograph. My aunt and Louis's dad were in it. They looked young. The building next to them looked familiar. But of course! I found a piece of my mother's photo and connected it to the fragment I found. Oh my god, they fit together perfectly, like pieces of a puzzle. Now it was clear that my mom, aunt, and the gardener were standing next to my boarding school in the photo. I decided to ask my aunt what it all meant and accidentally overheard her phone conversation. "We're screwed! I adopted this girl to get her to trust me and find out where her mother hid the paintings. But it turns out they were at the boarding school this whole time. And now they have been taken back to the museum. We're too late. I'm sending Miranda back to the orphanage tomorrow." So she was a liar too, huh? She had just been pretending to be kind to get her hands on the money. I felt like I'd been doused with ice water. It sucked. At least I would get to go back to the orphanage and forget about it like it had all been a terrible dream. However, I wanted everyone to get what they deserved. So I called the police and told them everything I'd heard. Soon, the cops rang our doorbell. They interrogated my aunt, and she confessed everything. My mom, aunt, and Louis's dad used to work at my boarding school. That's why Mrs. Hill had recognized my aunt. And then, the trio had robbed a museum. However, they fought, and my mom hid the paintings. She left me in the orphanage and turned herself in to the police. Louis's father and my aunt had been trying to find the paintings that whole time. I was speechless. So, my mom was alive? She was just serving her sentence in prison? It was nuts. Aunt Lucy and her accomplice went to prison as well. I was all too happy to return to my orphanage. Soon enough, I found the address of Mom's prison and visited her. It was very exciting. Mom hoped that I would one day find the paintings and become rich. Fate really did bring me to them. But I wanted to earn money with honest work. I don't know if I'll ever forgive Mom. We have a lot of catching up to do. But I realized that a home isn't a building, but a place where you are loved. Tell me, who is the closest person to you?